I know, without even having to look, that there is probably not one of the hundreds of videos that Jimmy Dore has made this year that talks about, like, the restoration of the Voting Rights Act or, I don't know, paid family leave. Or, I mean, much of it is not as far as I want them to go, but it is, in fact.
Just in general, having a political strategy, if you're on the left, of saying Republicans are bad, far-right people are bad, Democrats are also bad, and by the way, progressives who don't align with me are also bad. That isn't a viable political strategy. What Jimmy Dore does gives power to the right, because he goes on shows like this on Tucker Carlson. He agrees with him like, oh yeah, Democrats are bad. Democrats suck. Democrats are disgusting. And he only does that. He doesn't represent progressive values at all in interviews like this. And I think some people on the left saw this interview with Tucker Carlson and thought, wow, this is a good thing. But this is terrible. It's being a useful idiot. It's Nico House. It's being all these people who are giving more power to the right instead of helping the left. You aren't going to get a progressive candidate in the U.S. without Democrats, normal liberal people voting for them. It's simply not possible. And anyone who doesn't approach politics with that goal isn't serious or is just being emotional and not being strategic and not really caring about building the movement.
In fact, more than is being offered by the Republican Party. But let's leave that there. That's just low-hanging fruit.
The Democratic Party. We don't really have two parties, right? So they have to do Russiagate and impeachment and all these these circus shows, right? To distract you from the fact that the Democratic Party doesn't represent workers anymore, that they actually represent big pharma, health insurance, the military-industrial complex, and Wall Street. And that's why all this is happening, and that's why they have to cheat.
Notice how Jimmy Dore isn't calling out the right at all. He is just agreeing with Tucker Carlson. He's being the little token progressive for them. He's being like, oh, I'm the progressive. I agree. Democrats do suck. He's not pushing back on right ideas at all. Like, this is so bad for the left. He is so damaging for the left.
Bernie Sanders, because he's going to upset their game, their money game.
Yeah,
and that's why they got to stop him before. The first job of the Democratic Party is to stop the candidate who represents the workers, and then and only then can they turn their attention towards
Tucker loves this shit because he does the fake populism thing all the time. Like, I see people on the left, and I used to do it, sharing clips of him being semi-populist and saying, wow, he really owned them, but we're just helping. If you do that, you're just helping him. You're helping him when he runs in 2024 to be legitimized as an actual populist, when we know these fascists don't actually give a shit about anything they pretend to care about. And if they say they agree with us on something like, oh, corporations are bad, we say corporations are bad because they manipulate power, they control capital, and they ruin our economy and, workers' rights. They say corporations are bad because, oh, they censor. Oh, they're censoring people. Oh, wait, TikTok, that's bad. They're from China. Like, there's a total difference. There's a total disconnect in what the actual, solutions are to problems. We might agree that there are problems and agree there are power structures out of our control, but yeah, the things he's saying about Democrats, you can say are true, but politically, this is one of the dumbest things you can do because you're giving power to the right. Like, I'm not saying these aren't true things, but when you're playing in politics, you can't just be like, you can't work with Tucker Carlson and say, oh, the Democrats are corrupt, but not say anything about the right. Jimmy Dore doesn't say one thing about the right. He's more concerned with hating on Democrats and hating on non-progressives that don't agree with him than he is on gaining power in politics and hating on the right, the really, really bad people.
Donald Trump.
Now pause it for 1 second. Bernie Sanders got a lot of votes from members of the Democratic Party.
He did, yeah.
Exactly. Bernie Sanders, he got like 35% of the vote this primary. He doesn't 35% of the Democratic Party isn't socialist, aren't soc Dems, aren't democratic socialists, aren't
And if
these are normal Democrats he appealed to.
People are talking about, different people are talking about.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly my point, is that there's absolutely no care when you are a talk show host going on a major platform. Your language, you should be thinking about what is actually coming out of your mouth, because nobody can see into your dark, decrepit heart. But go ahead.
Donald Trump.
So is that why we never have debates about the tax code? We spend a lot of time on bathrooms. We spend a lot of time on these kind of peripheral social issues. But
we don't have debates on bathrooms. When it comes to trans people in restrooms, we know what the actual facts are. There's not an increase in crime or whatever. They're not, trans people aren't pedophiles like the right likes to label everyone they disagree with. The right makes these issues. The right makes it an issue every time at Christmas. Oh, they're taking Merry Christmas off of cups. Oh, Jesus is dead in our country. Although Christian white males still control every power structure in our country. And Jimmy Dore doesn't push back on this at all.
The last time someone talked about carried interest, can you?
Carried interest.
As Nancy Pelosi.
All right, now pause it. We're going to
is.
go back. But I want to tell you something right now, and I say this with more assuredness than anything I think I've said in any recent past. Jimmy Dore has no idea what the carried interest is. Now, maybe.
And there was a debate between Sam Cedar and Jimmy Dore like 4 years ago before the election, debating why Hillary wouldn't be that bad, or why Trump wouldn't be that bad compared to Hillary, because, you know, they're the same. Go watch that debate. Maybe I'll put it up. Jimmy Dore was literally wrong about everything. He predicted fascism would move the entire country more left. In reality, it did the opposite.
Thought, I should really know what that is that Tucker brings up on television. But the idea, first of all, that no one's had a debate about the tax code in this, like,
it's like Tulsi Gabbard. Like, she doesn't talk about any election security issues other than the ballot harvesting. Like, out of all issues, you pick the one that the right is focusing on 100%. You don't talk about child sex trafficking unless if it's for the Cuties movie, and you could agree with like Ted Cruz saying that the Justice Department or whatever should get into arresting whoever made the freaking Cuties movie, that weird ass movie with the kids that are dancing.
The Republicans just passed the tax bill that literally paid that. I think, what was it that Chase, that Jamie Dimon's outfit was bragging about? They made like $3.2 billion.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what the numbers are. Maybe it was more than that.
And the Democrats voted against it.
Every single one of the Democrats voted against it.
They talked about it a lot, and they voted against it. And it was like, also, it ended up being the very first unpopular tax cut
in the hits. Right.
The thing with the right too is they will support any candidate that Republicans put up. Democrats don't have that luxury. So progressives won't support any Democrat, and Democrats won't support any progressive. So if we have a wing of the left who is unwilling to support the best candidate in elections, that means that we don't have progressives supporting us, but they do have fascists supporting their candidate at all times. So according to that, because we have to have more pure politicians that fit more people that, you know, are more popular with more of our voters, because our voters are more stingy, it is more about purity politics. That was an attack at Bernie Sanders supporters during the primary, but it's kind of true. But we have that on one side, and then on the other side, the right will literally vote for anybody who will get their political, who is closest to their political ambitions.
I can't remember when somebody did. Now, but he's talking, to be fair, specifically about the carried interest loophole.
No, this is from a little bit ago. It's about the Jimmy Dore interview on Tucker Carlson, but I'm watching it just to get a little bit of a refresher before I watch some up-to-date Jimmy Dore videos.
Let's just play this out a little bit, because there's a reason why Tucker doesn't remember. And there's also a reason why Jimmy Dore doesn't. And the reason why Tucker doesn't remember is because Tucker's just a propagandist.
Yeah.
And a liar. Jimmy doesn't remember because he's an effing idiot. All right, go ahead.
Party is to stop the candidate who represents the workers, and then and only then can they turn their attention towards Donald Trump.
So is that why we never have debates about the tax code? We spend a lot of time on bathrooms. We spend a lot of time on these kind of peripheral social issues. But I can't remember the last time someone talked about carried interest. Can you?
Tucker, as Nancy Pelosi is ripping up Donald Trump's speech, she's passing his legislative agenda. So, and also, if you watched closely last night, you got to see her applaud Donald Trump's imperialism when it comes vis-a-vis Venezuela.
Is he doing anything to push forward progressive ideas or progressive policies, or is he just helping Tucker shit on the Democrats? Is he doing anything to push forward progressivism? No. He's helping the right. He's only helping the right. He's being the definition of a useful idiot. This is literally the definition.
Right? So I know you did good work on Venezuela. We all know these foreign entanglements are just CIA plots to steal resources and give it to American corporations. They admitted so much. John Bolton admitted on Fox News that that's what Venezuela was. So you saw the one-party rule last night. You saw Nancy Pelosi applauding and getting up with Juan Guaido, who is a CIA-appointed puppet leader of the Venezuela. So you saw that's the part I like to call out. That's when they're both in bed with the intelligence community. They're both in bed with the the military-industrial complex. And that and so, yeah, you're right. We're not talking about real things. We're talking about Russia. We're talking about a phone to the Ukraine.
Jimmy Dore's strategy would literally get nothing done in politics. He is literally, he's not viable in the political process with this current method. Yeah, we only move left under Democratic control. When Obama was in charge, people wanted to activate. It was like Occupy Wall Street and all that. With Trump and the biggest leftist movement of all time with Bernie Sanders after Obama, after neoliberals failed, and with Trump in charge, it's literally just like, oh, every problem is a result of Trump, and we need to get him out first before we do anything bigger or better.
We're never going to talk about why, when the Democrats had complete control of the government, they gave us a right-wing health care plan anyway. Oh, maybe it's because there aren't really two parties. There's one party in America, and they're both controlled by big business.
All right,
Jimmy Dore.
So, Jimmy Dore.
Jimmy Dore.
Now,
I missed whatever John Bolton appearance in which he said the CIA does coups for resources.
I think he did say something to that effect. But,
all right.
but I think I am
Glad you're here, Steraptcraft, I think.
I'm glad that there's that criticism of Guaido and Venezuela and Nancy Pelosi for doing that. But you can go up there and say, actually, no, I do know what the carried interest tax is.
If you watch that video, you might think Jimmy Dore is a Breitbart reporter. He didn't do anything to say progressivism or, push forward, universal health care, workers' rights, any of that. He didn't say, Tucker Carlson, you're a fake populist. While he's doing that, he's not calling out both sides. And if you look at his actual channel today, he literally just focuses almost 100% on Democrats, which is one of, like I said, the worst political strategies if you want to create change. We need Democrats to vote for progressives. It's not going to happen any other way. We are very outnumbered in this country. This is a center-right country overall. We need to be able to introduce these ideas to Democrats first, so we can use the Democratic Party as a vehicle as they keep on failing. After this election, holy crap, this is the best scenario right now. After the Democrats do terrible in the House and terrible in the Senate with centrist leading, after this, and Joe Biden barely gets into the presidency, and now Joe Biden is going to be so bad as president, this is perfect. This is the perfect time for progressives to take over and gain a lot of momentum in the Democratic Party. So this is a Jimmy Dore video. How did this happen? The election. He's going to say the Democrats didn't run on any actual issues. True. I wonder how he presents it.
Left side, his right side to his left. And side.
Maybe I'll get ad block.
Again, the results of yesterday's presidential election are coming in. And it's
so
a dead
old.
heat between a right-wing racist psychopathic liar and another right-wing.
Oh, Georgia and Nevada. So Nevada's supposed to announce something new at 9 a.m., I think, Eastern time. I'm not sure, though. It might be 9 a.m., I think. Are they Western? Are they on the West Coast, or are they Mountain time? I don't really know. But Georgia should be coming, around the same time. Hopefully by around noon tomorrow, we should get Georgia. I'm not sure, though.
Wing racist psychopathic liar.
They're counting as we speak.
Right now in the swing states, Joe
stopped.
Biden is just a hair sniff away from losing. Why is he
By the way, if anyone thinks Bernie Sanders running right now would not be facing the exact same issue is absolutely insane. There's no election scenario where Bernie Sanders would have ran and won every state so decisively that there'd be no counting issues with mail-in ballots during the pandemic. This would have been an issue no matter what, and pretending like Bernie Sanders would have came through and had a FDR type win simply is intellectually dishonest. Although how much I love Bernie Sanders, and I think he would have had a better chance of winning than Joe Biden by far. But still, we can't pretend like, Jimmy Dore is not going to focus on the lack of counting ballots at all during this. He's going to just do both sidesism, and I guarantee he's not going to bring up much about what the fascists are doing right now.
Close. Why is it so close? How could it be so close? Well, in the middle of a pandemic and an economic crisis, Democrats are sweating that they can't beat the incumbent reality TV show game show host. Just to show the Democratic Party learns nothing, they essentially repeated the exact same campaign from 2016, except with a worse candidate. Joe Biden, a demented walking death rattle.
Okay, well, they're probably on pace to win, unless if they lose court battles, win Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, Nevada, maybe Georgia. I don't know if this is an accurate representation of what the Democrats have done. I agree they did terribly, but organizing-wise, it was much better this year, especially with the pandemic.
This Delaware Dixiecrat, who should have been retired last century, rehabilitated by Barack Obama and thrust upon the American people. just like the rehabilitated Hillary Clinton. In a primary, using his weight to get the field to drop out and coalesce around the candidate who could barely make it through a debate without his eyes popping or his teeth falling out.
By the way, also, people like Obama, people like even Joe Biden, people like Nancy Pelosi are pretty popular in the Democratic Party. It doesn't help us on the left to say Nancy Pelosi is evil, to say Obama is evil, to say like Joe Biden's evil, to say all these people are evil. It helps us to point out what they're doing wrong. If we focus on their characters and say they're evil, the people who find them as popular will reject us as well. We need to point out their flaws and what they aren't doing for people. Don't just say Obama's a war criminal like you would say to your inner group, your echo chamber on Twitter. Say actual substantial things people care about that affect their lives. That's how you get voters to react to what you're saying and actually come to your side. This politics, like I'm trying to say, Jimmy Dore's version of, I don't know what this is, how to gain power, I guess, in politics, how to gain influence, simply doesn't work.
The Democratic Party hates progressives more than Trump. They fought Bernie Sanders and progressives more than they ever fought Republicans. After a season of people protesting police brutality, Democrats put at the top of their ticket the author of the '94 crime bill and a self-described top cop. The entire hierarchy of the Democratic Party needs to be wiped out. Not because they are a danger to the Democratic Party, but because they are a danger to the nation. Incompetence, cruelty, stupidity, playing politics with people's lives during a pandemic, not fighting to give them help.
Is he going to say one thing about Republicans during this, or is he going to prove my point completely right? Is he going to say one bad thing about Republicans?
Care, not giving them urgently needed economic stimulus.
They wanted to. The Republicans didn't let it through. The bill the Republicans wanted to pass through the Senate, the $1.2 trillion deal, the $1.2 trillion, instead of the Democrats' offer, had no stimulus. The Republicans didn't want to give a stimulus. The Democrats did. And the Democrats wanted to provide corporate liability. They wanted to not give corporate liability protection for employees of corporations that get COVID-19. Republicans wanted to provide corporate liability, or, remove liability for corporations. So the Democrats wanted to protect workers during the pandemic and give stimulus, and he's not going to bring that up at all. He's going to just shit on Democrats, which isn't right, and it also isn't smart.
All done to game an election for their side. The leaders.
Yeah, exactly, Vortex. It works on people who already agree, and that's, at this point, I mean, we don't need this anymore, right? We already have an activated movement. We need more people to come in. We need to be more about, addition, less about subtraction.
Consultants, the vendors. They shouldn't be allowed to show their faces in public again. They should be tarred and feathered. Don't cry for them. They are running off with all your money right now. Win or lose, they still get paid. Watch them tonight on MSNBC and CNN. And after years of saying we are on the brink of fascism, the Democratic Party establishment chose Joe Biden, a demented...
Oh, yeah. Jimmy Dore is one of the people who doesn't believe fascism is real. I guess, I mean, Joe Biden's the same as Trump,
babbling kitty toucher who promised to veto
babbling kitty toucher
Medicare for all during
this literally does sound like Breitbart, by the way. This is the exact patterns the right uses.
A pandemic, who still thinks marijuana is a gateway drug and who voted for the Iraq war, who offered nothing to voters.
If he did a video with Steven Crowder, he would just agree with Crowder the entire time. He wouldn't offer any pushback. I've never seen him disagree with an actual right-wing politician or a right-wing pundit, because he likes shitting on Democrats more than he likes actually being politically viable.
Why is Biden struggling in Michigan? I'm sure the endorsement of the governor who poisoned their children really swung voters. Obama, who is so lacking in decency and shame, went to Flint, Michigan, and told them to vote for his legacy.
Yeah, this was terrible.
After, when Flint needed his help the most,
Obama went to Flint, Michigan, where the lead is in the water, and said, "Hey, can I have a drink of water?" And fake drank the water during a speech in front of a bunch of people whose kids were destroyed for their entire lives because of consuming lead. And Obama drank the water but didn't do anything to fix it. It was all political posturing. It was terrible. It was terrible. But it's like that one meme with in Pokemon when you try to use a bike indoors and Professor Oak pops up and says, "Hey, there's a time and place for everything. That time isn't right now. There's certain times you need to know when to give influence to Dems and then how to rip it away as well."
He had gaslighted them and ran cover for the murderous corruption. Well, Barack Obama took a break from skydiving with billionaires to kneecap Bernie Sanders getting the nomination, so you know he cares. The Democratic Party is so lame that they put Kamala Harris on their ticket as VP in hopes she would swing that important demographic of California wine moms.
No, they wanted to pick a woman of color, and it happens that she is a woman of color who doesn't scare white people. As sad as that is, if you are too, as people would say, quotations, too black, people will reject you. So like Stacey Abrams, these suburban white voters might have been scared off by her because racism is so prevalent in our country. Kamala wasn't a great pick, but I know why they did it, because they went with suburban voters. They wanted to swing more suburban voters. And I mean, they did do decent. They got a lot of white women and white men from the suburbs and also more from rural areas. It's just, I mean, it's the strategy they went with. I don't agree with it, but that's what they were doing.
The media failed again. They didn't correct any of their ways since the last election. Polling should be abolished. Campaigns should be about ideas. Corporate media abetted the Democratic Party in not having to face introspection for their losses. All of you who Russiagated, the entire nation was laughing at you. Democrats thought this was a clever distraction from their own failures and corruption. You thought you could turn red baiting into a campaign advantage. You made fools of yourselves. Joe Biden should have never been the nominee.
Well, yeah, we know that they are less likely to follow the influence of people because of their, big money interest and all that stuff. And, there's stuff called like elite theory in public policy where it's like, are elites influencing policy? Most likely. People don't have much of a say. But when it comes down to two parties, one wants to strip away trans rights, one wants to strip away healthcare from 40 million people and roll back 50 years of climate legislation and policy, it just comes to a point where you have to pick shit, In all of human history, there never was perfection. We're not going to get a perfect progressive right away. This is a long, hard, fought-out movement that we're going to have to upheave from the bottom up. We're never going to, even if Bernie Sanders did become the nominee and did become president, with a Republican Senate and, barely a House, he wouldn't have been able to do much anyway. A lot of what we need done right now is reversing executive order through the White House, and Biden will do that over Trump. That's one thing we have to just do right now as a patchwork and focus on the overall fix in the next 4 years with an actual super strong left. During Obama's presidency, we barely had a left. Now we are ready to go. Like, I'm very confident we can actually do some shit now with what we have grown.
Nobody who voted for the Iraq War should become the president of the United States. The Democratic Party, nauseating privilege and moral piety. The party of the managerial class that was proud to snub their base, proud to serve Wall Street interests.
All this emotionally charged terminology and verbiage, I don't give a shit about. I care about the real-world objective repercussions of one party being in office over the other. I don't care about the Democrats are going to keep screwing you over and you're just going to take it. I don't care about that loaded language. I care about what's actually practically going to happen.
Proud to snub working class voters. The Democrats are discredited as a party. They are discredited as a party of opposition. They are discredited as a party with purpose. The people need a new party, a party that will fight for health care for all, a party that will be against war, a party that will be for a planet that is habitable, a party that does not serve the oligarchs, and a party that's not bought. Whatever the results, we need to build power. We must.
He doesn't know how to
fight for the world we want. Peoplesparty.org.
Oh, yes. We need to start another third party. After having the Green Party do nothing for 40 years, we need another third. I agree we need to have an outside party that could work like it can work to get some influence in the Democratic Party and sort of like a coalition building type of thing. But I don't know. This experiment hasn't worked very well. Oh, there we go. But, it did work well. Our progressives running within the Democratic Party and showing people why Democrats were not getting the job done. And those more center voters were voting for our progressives. AOC, probably a socialist and actually, what she actually believes. But SOCDEM is supported by so many centrist people. She is so popular with the regular Democratic voters, even people who are not like revolutionary types, like progressives. That is a huge deal when it comes to national politics. People like her are going to be what actually flips it. when we finally are ready. Yeah, it's about viability. The People's Party, I'll have to look it up more. The People's Party, from what I know, is, I think they're trying to overtake what the Green Party was and also be what you're saying, like use it to infiltrate the Democratic Party. Because I saw like Nina Turner talking to John Kasich about like, didn't she have him on her podcast or something like that? Yeah, Dems are making moves to stop more AOCs from happening. So we need to be focused on swinging, center Democratic voters to make sure they cannot prevent that. But instead, we're focused on shitting on Democrats. And if I say to somebody like who's a regular Democrat, who's very in the center, oh, Obama's a war criminal that I hate, they're much less likely to listen to me because Obama is one of the most popular Democratic presidents of all time. You know what I mean? We have to be able to pick our spots of where to be super principled and of where to be strategic with what we say. Yeah, don't support incumbent corporate Dems. Push against them. Reveal why they're bad. Don't just make personal attacks. That's not how voters are going to react. This is a comparison I hate. Buttigieg now wants to count the vote. So, after Iowa, Pete Buttigieg said, guys, tonight we have done something historic. We have had a great victory today. He said something about being like a gay candidate. I was mad at him at the time, but now people are comparing him to what Donald Trump is doing right now. And that equivalency is one of the worst both sidesism I've ever heard, really. It's a pretty common view on the left, too. The inability to tell the degrees of what's happening is a really bad quality to have in politics, by the way.
It's not a stunt. This is not a stunt. I really
don't do it.
No,
don't
I really
do
needed a drink of alcohol. I realize this is not a stunt. So Pete Buttigieg went out with our favorite. Do you see what hair dye and lighting can do for you? Joy Behar has looked exactly the same for 20 straight years. 20 years since she was 58. She's looked like this. Now, how old is she? 78. Let me see.
I think she's
Siri,
57.
how old is Joy Behar? Hey Siri,
You'll see the thing. They updated.
She's 78. I was fucking right on.
Pete doesn't seem impressed.
I was right on. Ever since she was 58 years old, she's looked like that. She got that gig when she was fucking 58. Most people think their careers are over. Hers was just starting.
Anybody who wants an update on Pennsylvania, by the way, so there's certain numbers that, people are doing like statistics and stuff across the state, so that Biden needs to hit in certain counties. So there's a county called Montgomery County. He is carrying it by 25%. He needed to carry it by 23% with the votes coming in. Lebanon, he needed to lose by less than 35%. He's only down there. He's down there now 32%. Which isn't bad at all, and this is a really good picture right here with Philadelphia coming in.
Holy shitstorm.
Hers was just starting.
She can even afford sweaters that just type in her thoughts.
Yeah.
But okay, if Jimmy's goal is to pull Republicans left, what has he ever said to a Republican to their face to move them left? Because every time he interacts with one, like Tucker, he literally shits on Dems. He doesn't say anything about universal health care, workers' rights. Populism can easily be mistaken by and weaponized by either side. So if he's going to go on and just be populist, he's feeding into their narrative and helping them be legitimized as, people who actually care about the working class and all these real populist issues. I don't see any Republicans getting pulled left as a result of what he's doing here.
Why does Pete Buttigieg look like he just came back from a kegger where he tried light beer for the first time? Doesn't he? Okay, here we go.
Pete Buttigieg, openly gay, but a closeted conservative.
Bam!
Nailed it.
Another great line.
So are most Democrats, by the way. Not openly gay, but closeted conservatives. So, you have to work with them somehow.
He doesn't think that the ballots after Election Day should be counted. Can he do that? Aren't there laws to, isn't that what this is about? We're supposed to count every vote?
Yeah.
Well, maybe we could just do a coin flip. Because you get it.
Ha ha ha. I am also
Right,
mad
let's be
about
clear,
Iowa
he doesn't
still.
have the authority to do that. He can declare whatever he likes, but this is a democratic country, and we count the votes. Now, I am disturbed that they have this strategy where they're going to court in some of the states, trying to stop some of those votes.
It's
By the
funny
way, we're
that
talking
Pete would
about
say this.
He doesn't
didn't
like
wanna
the
count the votes.
strategies to discourage voters. They don't work like they do in the primary.
Hey, guys, did you know that after one state in a Democratic primary saying, hey, guys, great victory today, when the results are still up in the air, to get momentum moving into the next day and seize the media narrative, is the same as attempting an election coup and saying outright that you won the Electoral College and that there is mass voter fraud, and engaging in, what is that called again, that word of terrorism where you encourage it with your with your rhetoric, but he's encouraging his people to go and ruin the democratic process, saying that all the ballots are fake and they should be thrown out. Is that the same? Is bypassing democracy the same as using a really commonly waged political tactic? Because what Pete Buttigieg did after Iowa is actually really common in political history. It's what every primary candidate has ever done ever since primaries were tiered like they are, with Iowa and New Hampshire first, and they move on to other states.
Military voters sending in votes in the mail. We're talking about all kinds of legitimate, valid voters. And look, this is not a strategy that you adopt if you think you're winning. So it's really a sign of desperation.
Well, I understand why he has so many Republican supporters, but I mean, is he doing something to move them over? Would they ever vote for a Bernie Sanders? I would want to see more on this, because if you literally just shit on the Dems, the stuff I've seen in the comments is, I'm so happy how we could both shit on the Dems, although I don't agree with you on anything. Like, is that a good thing? Jimmy Dore isn't running, so it doesn't matter how much they like him. It matters how much he can get other people to like progressive candidates.
Oh, really? A sign of desperation. Who would know better?
He's not even funny. He really isn't.
But
like,
they've been losing.
People say, like, oh, he's a comedian. He's not really a political commentator. People say this about Steven Crowder, too. Neither of them are funny. Like, all these people who claimed it, like, Jon Stewart was actually funny.
Time they've tried to do this in the courts, so I'm confident that votes are going to be counted.
Yeah, they were all for
You
Tulsi.
see that
They weren't even
record
for
turnout.
Bernie.
It shows that these strategies to discourage voters, they just aren't working.
They don't work like they do in the primary, Pete, that's for sure.
You said that 3 times.
Too bad Republicans couldn't run 20 candidates against one, then maybe discouraging voters would have been easier.
They did do that.
Having Pete Buttigieg talk about election integrity is like having Claire McCaskill talking about election victories. Come on.
Again, if you can't tell the degrees in difference from these two things, then, I mean, that's not good.
Pete calling out cheating. Pete Buttigieg calling out cheating. Man, that's like the pot calling the kettle the color of the people that Pete didn't.
If you want to believe the shadow conspiracy stuff, you could say that's cheating. And if you consider dropping out to endorse one candidate cheating, which it's not cheating, or if you include declaring victory to get momentum moving into another state cheating, I guess you could say it's cheating, but it's not. None of that is illegal. None of that is against elections. I mean, it was shitty what they did, but it's politics. Like, it's not a sports game. It's not a friendly game. It's not a friendly wager. We have to expect it's going to be dirty.
Have live in his neighborhood. That's something. You got to pay attention.
He is a accelerationist. He never says it though. He won't admit it.
Pete Buttigieg declares victory in Iowa.
But he uses all the
0%
terminology
of the vote in.
And he says the same stuff.
Friendly reminder, in case, like the news networks, apparently you forgot. They're just as scummy as Donald Trump. Just so you know. That fucking tool of the establishment.
Just as scummy.
This motherfucking tool of the establishment, this piece of shit, is no better than Donald Trump.
Have we forgotten how dirty politics is? Like, politics isn't a clean game. We have to be able to fight this stuff. We can't be crying about our loss from eight months ago. We're still crying about this? Are you kidding me? Look into the future. Where can we pick our spots moving into the future to prevent this from happening again? Like, this type of rear view, I can't talk, mirror staring isn't helping us at all. If you don't watch the road, you're gonna swerve off track. He was a scumbag, I agree, in many aspects. I don't necessarily like him, but many Democratic voters do. And again, if we go up, we say, Pete Buttigieg, asshole, Obama, war criminal, Joe Biden should go die, how about Amy Klobuchar, she's a bitch, Andrew Yang, oh my god, dude, universal basic income, that's so unoriginal, or that's so unachievable, that's so stupid, what an idiot, Tom Steyer, he's a dumbass. I mean, we can shit on Michael Bloomberg. Let's shit on Michael Bloomberg. But all people who think these candidates are popular are going to look at us and say, are you guys crazy? What are you? Why would I vote for you? You don't like anybody I like. We need to use their popularity. Like when Bernie Sanders had ads with him and Obama in it. That's smart politics. Any promising candidates on the horizon for 2024? What is the list? Ro Khanna. Yang's probably going to run again. AOC might run. I don't know if AOC should run. I feel like she should wait until 2028. I don't know. Unless if the setting is really primed. The stage is really primed for her. I don't want her to run too soon before she's ready. Because that might ruin her chances for the future. I don't know. It's weird how all that momentum works.